She just seemed very lively and friendly. I just hope that the truth comes out.
A Tesla, a missing girl, a pop star everyone thought they knew. When the news broke that a teenager's body was discovered inside a car registered to one of the fastest rising artists in music, the internet stopped cold.
TMZ is reporting that the car is linked to the popular singer David.
It didn't sound real, too disturbing, too surreal, like a headline ripped from a thriller. But as investigators peeled back the layers, the story began to look less like tragedy and more like something planned, something rehearsed. Private investigator Steve Fiser called it sadistic stuff. He said what was found inside that mansion pointed to something darker than anyone expected. And while police stayed silent, the silence from the label and from the artist himself was deafening. People aren't just asking what happened, they're starting to ask what was supposed to happen next. Late July 2025, a white Tesla is found abandoned on a quiet Los Angeles street. At first glance, it looks ordinary, parked neatly, windows half down. But when officers opened the trunk, everything changed. Inside were the remains of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, just 14 years old. A runaway? A victim? Or something else entirely? News outlets exploded. Fans flooded comment sections demanding answers. How could the same artist whose songs filled TikTok be tied to something this grim? At first, detectives couldn't make sense of the timeline. There were days, even weeks, that vanished. She was last seen in early January, but the car didn't appear until late July. Where was she in between? Who had been driving that Tesla all this time? Then, quietly, a few photos began circulating online. Photos that would change everything.
Yo, wait.
Oh, look it. Answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which one?
Before anyone knew the full story, people dug into Celeste's Discord and Instagram accounts. Screenshots surfaced, messages between her and the singer. In one, she complained about her parents. In another, he replied, "Don't worry, I'll fix it." At first, it sounded like teenage drama, but in hindsight, those words became haunting. Fans began combing through every lyric, every old post, trying to make sense of the sudden disappearance. Someone even uncovered a 2024 YouTube comment from a user named Robin River, claiming he was waiting for cops to get David for messing with minors. That was months before anyone knew about Celeste. Was this just coincidence, or had someone known the truth all along? Reddit lit up with theories. Users built spreadsheets of timelines, dissecting tour dates and citing reports. One thing became clear: every lead led right back to him. And just when it felt like the internet had reached a dead end, a private investigator stepped into the story. Steve Fiser wasn't some wannabe sleuth chasing clout. He'd spent months studying digital evidence and interviewing witnesses. When he finally spoke publicly, he sounded exhausted, like someone carrying a secret too heavy to hold. According to Fiser, there wasn't a single verified photo or video of Celeste at the Hollywood Hills property everyone fixated on. Instead, he found something else. A folder of professional-looking photos, taken not with a phone, but with a regular camera. Different backgrounds, different lighting. Downtown LA rooftops, motel hallways, an alley near a shuttered nightclub. The timestamps? Early January 2025. The last confirmed photo of Celeste was dated January 2nd. That one date shattered the official timeline. If she was alive then, what happened between January 2nd and July 29th? For investigators, that single question opened a door to something even stranger, because this wasn't the first time Celeste had disappeared. Public records show she'd been reported missing 3 different times in 2024, long before the Tesla ever entered the story. Each time she was labeled a runaway, and each time she eventually resurfaced, sometimes days later, sometimes weeks. Friends told police she often drifted between homes, staying with classmates or older people she'd met through the LA music scene. She was bright, social, and drawn to that world of artists and late-night studios, a world that can swallow kids whole if no one's watching closely.
Now, there were reports that she is a runaway, speculation that she was trying to see David.
The last official missing person report came in April 2024, when she was just 13, but scattered sightings kept popping up through the rest of that year. She was seen at small shows near USC, photographed at parties where nobody realized she was underage, and even spotted near rehearsal spaces linked to indie artists. Police chalked it up to teenage rebellion. Her parents said they thought she'd finally come home by the holidays, that she was trying to turn things around, which makes that January 2nd photo so haunting. It proved she was still out there, living a life that nobody around her fully understood. So between that April missing person report and the final image dated in January, where exactly was she staying? Was she back with friends, moving between couches, or hidden somewhere that people weren't supposed to find? That gap, those missing months, might hold every answer investigators are still looking for. Fiser hinted that the Tesla might have only been a temporary holding spot, that whatever was planned next never went through. Disturbing, he said, but maybe their timing was off. And that's when the internet's theory machine went into overdrive. Within hours, a Reddit thread titled "Proof David Rented 2 Places" shot to the top of the site. Users claimed public records showed he had leases for 2 addresses, one in Hollywood, one closer to where Celeste's body was found. The second house was allegedly relisted in March 2025, 2 months after that final photo. People started asking, was that the hideout? The place to stay he once sang about? Lyrics suddenly felt like confessions. Don't run away, I've got a place you can stay. A coincidence, maybe. But in cases like this, coincidences pile up until they don't look like coincidences anymore. When users noticed that the property transfer matched one of his tour gaps, theories hardened into belief. He left town, the car moved, the house vanished, it's all connected, one comment read. The discussion got darker. Someone suggested that the Tesla wasn't just storage, it was an alibi. He'd gone on tour, leaving someone else to handle things. It sounded insane, but the more details emerged, the less insane it felt. Weeks later, whispers began about Celeste's phone. Investigators reportedly recovered partial data, but found entire gaps of missing messages, especially after January 2nd. Digital forensics experts were called to restore deleted logs. What they found hasn't been released, but insiders claimed those missing texts could reveal who she'd argued with in her final days. Not necessarily him, but someone close to him. The idea of a second player, maybe a friend, maybe an assistant, sent speculation spiraling. And then there were the deleted photos. Backups suggested that some files were manually wiped just days before his tour began. At this point, the internet wasn't just theorizing, it was investigating. Fans tracked archived playlists, metadata from live streams, even airport sighting timestamps. Meanwhile, David's label said nothing. No press conference, no PR statement, no denial beyond a single line from his manager. He had nothing to do with it. The silence spoke louder than any statement could. Behind the scenes, Celeste's family stayed quiet. Painfully quiet. But that kind of silence isn't peace, it's planning. Reports surfaced that a family representative met with a Beverly Hills civil attorney, not a criminal lawyer. The difference? Criminal lawyers chase justice, civil lawyers chase accountability and settlements. If true, that means they're building a wrongful death case. Around the same time, property records showed David transferring 2 houses in Texas into a trust under his mother's name. To some, that looked like estate management. To others, like damage control. When stars face lawsuits, they move assets fast. It's not illegal, it's survival.
As cops investigate the passing of Celeste Rivas, who is the body that was discovered in his Tesla, then at the bottom it states that he transferred 2 of his Texas homes to his mother.
But optics matter, and these optics looked bad. Even worse, the label's legal department reportedly pulled his tour insurance documents offline. Fans couldn't help but wonder, was the label distancing itself before things exploded? And through it all, he said nothing. Not a single word, no interview, no condolences, no music. Just silence. The kind that feels less like mourning and more like strategy. Once adored for his emotional honesty, David's image began to crumble. The same songs that once sounded romantic now felt eerie, almost confessional. Fans revisited his lyrics with new eyes. Lines that once meant heartbreak now sounded like warning signs. She wanted to run away. I'll fix it. You're safe here with me. Each one echoed like evidence. His streaming numbers dipped. Playlist placements vanished. Even casual listeners admitted they couldn't hear the music the same way. Meanwhile, smaller creators on TikTok built entire mini-documentaries connecting symbolism in his videos to Celeste's disappearance. Every frame was dissected, every gesture reinterpreted. The fandom split in two, half convinced he was innocent, half certain he wasn't. But everyone agreed on one thing: something about the story still didn't add up. And while lawyers and investigators worked in silence, the court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. Because in the digital age, silence isn't safety. It's guilt waiting to be proven. Now, months later, the case still sits in limbo. No official cause of death released, no named suspect. Just a Tesla, a timeline full of holes, and a singer whose once bright career now hangs in the balance. Maybe Celeste was chasing the wrong dream. Maybe he was trapped by his own fame. Or maybe the truth lies somewhere neither side wants to admit. Because when fame and darkness meet, one always devours the other. The songs, the fame, the money, none of it matters once the spotlight turns cold. And as fans keep refreshing feeds for that next update, the court filings, the leaked footage, the missing messages, one question keeps echoing louder than any lyric. Was this a tragedy or a cover-up that failed? Whatever the answer, the silence won't last forever, because the truth, no matter how buried, always finds a way to surface. So what do you think? Is this the end of David's story, or just the calm before the storm? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next story might make this one look tame,